Hello and welcome back to Our Unruly Nest. My name is Amber and I'm so glad that you're here. This is a lifestyle channel, secular homeschooling, and motherhood. The motherhood aspect hopefully is just a support, a sense of community for you. I'm really excited. Today we are starting a new series. We are starting in my son's health journey series, and specifically it'll be mostly about speech. My son has a full body motor planning delay. In some parts of the country in the world it's called dyspraxia, and here it is called childhood apraxia of speech, or CAS. It's a bit more severe than just a typical speech delay, but our journey has been very, very similar to those that have speech issues due to autism, all kinds of things. So my son has a whole slew of health issues, but today we are just discussing speech. There will be more videos. Each one of the things that he struggles with, I will share in this series. I think our experience can help other families. So that is my goal from this. If you have been through something like this, you're going to understand it's hard. It's hard and it's exhausting. And if you're new and you found this video because you're looking for help for your child, today is going to be a bit more of an introduction, if you will, but the following videos we will go through, right, how my son went from no words and about 2 to 3 words at age 2.5 to 5 and 6 words put together just over age 3. What work we did, what that looked like, what activities that we do, just what has worked for us. Now, before I get into this, and again, today is more of an introduction. I do have my notes here, so fear not. But I do just want to say, I'm sure there is a legal disclaimer, but I am not a speech therapist. I'm a lot of things. I know a little bit about a lot, but I am not a speech therapist, and nothing in this video should replace you getting professional evaluations and professional help from a qualified, licensed speech pathologist. Okay? So now that we have covered that, this series is really important to me because, to be honest, because we're all becoming friends here, my husband and I have been through a lot. So is my son. So I'm going to just kind of tell you just a quick little snippet. Again, today is about introducing this series, so I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but that will be coming up in the upcoming videos. So if you find something of value and you're excited for those other videos, please do like, subscribe. If you like this video, then I know that this is something that you want more of. If you don't like it, let me know and I'll do something else. But I really feel like this could be super valuable to a lot of people. And we have been through so much. My son's story is so involved and he has grown wildly. I mean, he has just developed in spite of what we were ever told that he would. So if any of the things that we have learned, that we have been through, good, bad, or otherwise, if my sharing that can help you, can help another family or another child, that is what this is about for me. So leave me a comment below and let me know why you're here today. What about speech delay might interest you, and hopefully we can help each other. So real quick, okay, so my son turned 3 in March. He started physical therapy when he was about 6.5 months old, and the physical therapist very quickly realized that he needed speech therapy as well. He was evaluated, and then I believe we started speech right around 8.5 to 9 months old, and he turned 3 in March. So that gives you a quick idea about how much we have put into his development. So I feel like I have a lot to share. But again, this is just the introduction to the series. So let me just tell you a little bit about my son. Again, future videos will have kind of each topic of what he struggles with. But for right now, we are going to focus on the speech part of it. So sorry guys, I'm still nervous in front of the camera. It hasn't changed yet. It probably is going to take more than 10 videos to change. So thank you for bearing with me. So, okay, my son was born a month prematurely because of a uterine abruption. And so he was in the NICU and children's hospitals. You know, he couldn't breathe. It was a rough start to life. We realized very quickly he couldn't nurse. He couldn't pass any formulas. He was starting to fail to thrive. It was a whole thing. And it turns out that he has severe mast cell issues. So if you're not familiar with, mast cell activation syndrome, cutaneous mastocytosis, we will cover that stuff in future videos, but he could not pass foods. Even now at age 3, he has about 16 safe foods. So this is a long journey for him, but a part of his story is that he has a full body motor planning disorder. We have been to neurologists, developmental pediatricians. We have traveled the country. We live in Kansas. We have been to so many children's hospitals. Where we were able to get the most help was actually the children's hospital in Colorado, Denver specifically. He has a whole medical team. But yeah, so he has a very lengthy story, and I do think it will help some of you. But if you are familiar with whole body motor planning difficulties, delays, sometimes it's called Apraxia, childhood apraxia of speech, Dyspraxia. It's called different things depending on where you live. But the reality is, by age 2.5, he could only say duck, black, and more. He had 3 words approaching age 2.5. And depending on the day, he either could say those words or he couldn't. So when you struggle with motor planning, it takes so much effort to get what you know up here to come out here. Well, not only does he have that problem with speech, but he also has that problem with motor planning with his body, his whole body, right? So everything from, writing, grasping, physical body movements, right? Trying to dress himself. Think about every motion. Me, just doing this, right? I don't even think about it. I just do it. Every motion, every word is so intentional for him. He has to think so hard about it. He has to motor plan how he's going to do it. So we've been in a lot of therapy, speech therapy, physical therapy, occupational therapy. We've been through it. So I feel like we have a lot to add in speech, but I just wanted you to understand what he has been through and what he will continue to go through. But we have found a lot of success in it, okay? He turned 3 in March. He was putting 2 to 3 words together just this morning. He walked into my bedroom. He is now jumping. He is almost running, which for us is huge. And he looked at something up on my shelf. I'm obsessed with pugs. The dogs, just so you know. I have all these stuffed pugs. And he goes, I want pug. And I looked at him and he goes, I want the pug, please. I nearly burst into tears. 4 to 7 words put together is such a huge accomplishment for him. So I'm going to try in this series to help you guys learn tips and tricks and things that have worked really well for my son. Okay, so let me just get my notes here because all right, so we went over the diagnosis, how we knew early on, right? Because that's that's a big question, right? How do I know, Amber, if my son or if my child needs services? Well, get them evaluated, okay? Our first clue that something was physically wrong with him was he was not trying to sit up. He wasn't trying to, lift his own head. He wasn't trying to roll over. He presented with neurological symptoms, we thought. As it turns out, he doesn't have anything neurologically wrong. He doesn't even have a receptive speech issue. That means, hearing, processing, understanding. He understands everything. And come to find out, he always has. But he has an expressive speech struggle, delay, if you will. So that is him trying to get the words out, him trying to communicate, right, what he knows he wants to say, but he has to be able to get it out somehow to me or my husband or his sister. So that's kind of receptive versus expressive. Guys, this is all over the place. I'm sorry. It's been a long 3 years. So the pediatrician realized, right, about 6 months in, like, something's not right. We went to our local early services, and they evaluated him for speech, physical therapy, not all at once. We started in physical therapy, but eventually, right, then speech, and then occupational therapy. So my first tip to you is, if you question at all, every child is different. Every child is different, and there is no harm in just wondering, my one child, was speaking in sentences by the time they were 2, and, this child isn't even saying 2 words. I wonder if there's a problem. Ask your doctor. Ask for a referral just to have them evaluated. You guys, I cannot tell you how many friends I have that won't even consider the possibility that their child might need some extra help. It's like somehow it's a shameful thing, or it means that, they as a parent failed in some way or did something wrong. You guys, that is not the case, okay? That is not the case. You are amazing. I am amazing. I keep telling myself this, but we are the only advocate that our children have. So if you suspect at all, an evaluation should be free, just have them evaluated. Let a professional, right, physical therapist, speech therapist, let you know if there is something that your child could gain from early services. The earlier you intervene, the better. So that is my first tip. My laptop is doing all kinds of crazy things. My son started services so young. I believe that made a huge difference, because as we now know later, right? We didn't know it at the time. Guys, I cried continually at the time, right? Feeling like it wasn't working and nothing was happening. But because they are so young, because you don't necessarily know what they might be struggling with yet, there just needs to be trust that if a professional in that field says, yes, I think they could benefit from some help, you trust them and you trust that the work is doing something. And my son is a perfect example of this, okay? One of the first tools that we gave him was this ready, set, go. We implemented it into everything, our play, our day-to-day activities. If I was putting him in the car seat, ready, set, go, and what have you. If we're playing, right? If he's going to go down the slide, ready, set, go. It took him 2 years, and now I go ready, and he goes set, go. So the goal of that is that anticipation of speech, right? Eventually you space, so ready, set, and it feels like this really uncomfortable long silence, go. But you're giving them a chance, right? You're giving their brain a chance to go. Now, is a typical speech delayed child going to take a year and a half, almost 2 years to get to that point? No. This is where it's important to know that my son actually has something more going on, right? He has an actual motor planning delay, not just speech. But most kids, that's pretty quick, right? The other thing is we narrated everything. Guys, my family would be like, Amber, Your life is like a giant audiobook. I would narrate everything. It didn't matter if we were playing, lots of play, by the way, like on the floor with them playing, right? Lots of talking, lots of book reading. I will actually come back to that in a future video. I think books helped my son more than anything, but there's a key to book reading with a speech delayed child, okay? And we're gonna talk about that in our next video. So make sure that you come back and check that out. So yeah, so our life, it's a huge audiobook. To be honest, it still kind of is, right? I'm folding laundry. What is mama doing? Oh, I'm folding the green shirt. Am I folding your bed? Am I making your bed? Oh, put the sheet on. Take your pillow off. Put your pillowcase on. Oh, we're gonna go, we're gonna run some errands. Oh, we need to get in the van. We need to strap in. I'm driving down the road. Oh, I'm turning. Here's my turn signal. Do you hear my turn signal? Do you hear that? Click, click, click. Narrate everything. A child with a speech delay, especially a motor planning delay, like what my son has, repetition, 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 repetition. If the average developing child, words are hard. Every video, words are hard. If a typically developing child needs to hear something 100 times to process it, understand it, and be able to use it conversationally, a child with a speech delay needs way more exposure. My personal speech therapist, again, I am no speech therapist. Child psychology, yes. Speech therapy, just a mom that has been through a lot. But my speech therapist told us, and she's been with my son since the beginning. She told us, if the average kid needs to hear it 100 times, he needs to hear it 2,000 times. So I know it seems excessive. I know it seems excessive, but the repetition, just constantly hearing things, hearing you talk, hearing, you and your family talk, it helps them. It's working. It's helping whether you know it or not. I got way off tangent here. I totally lost my thing. I was going to tell you his thing, all in order. We're just going to roll with it. So, okay, my son was in early services where here in Kansas, they come to your home and do speech. When he turned 3, he aged out of, free early services. I think the average child probably doesn't need a lot of speech help, right? Beyond that. That's why catching it early is so important. But my son obviously has something much more going on. So he's going to be in speech for probably a good long while, and probably more, more times per week than the average speech delayed kiddo. But the only difference for us is money, right? It is no longer free, and we now drive 30 minutes to services, and then obviously drive home. But he knows his, speech therapist, physical therapist, occupational therapist, adores them. He trusts them. And that relationship, you guys, that's my next point. It is so crucial, okay? A therapist of any kind, and this is coming from somebody with a psychology background, okay? I don't care if it's a, you're sitting in therapy, like a mental health counselor, if it's a physical therapist, if it's a speech therapist, which of course is what we are going through here. If it's not a good fit, guys, that's okay. It doesn't mean that your child doesn't need help. It doesn't mean, right, that you don't need help. It just means that that's not a good fit. Find somebody else. Find somebody else if you can, or talk to the therapist, right? There were times where I had concerns with what our speech therapist was doing, and it appeared, right, that he wasn't benefiting whatsoever. And I would talk to her about it. I would ask questions. I was involved. I am still involved. I will always be involved because I am my son's advocate. I'm his voice. So I'm going to try to get back to some kind of an order here. Do not hesitate to ask for a referral from your doctor to get your child evaluated if you question at all that they may need support. Number 2, there is no shame. There is nothing to worry about. It does not mean, right, that your child is not perfectly normal. I hate that word, but it doesn't mean, right, that they're going to be 25 years old, not be able to speak. It doesn't mean any of that. Okay, it just means that they need a little extra help, and that's what these professionals are there for. Number 3, get a professional. Okay, YouTube is great, moms are great, church groups are great, but they're not professionals. A professional speech pathologist is going to know how to help your child with exactly where they need help. So that is super important. Now, the reason why I was looking on YouTube was because we were going through this when the virus happened and everything was shut down. Okay, therapies and things were over Zoom, they were virtual. I found them completely useless for us. It wasn't the therapist's fault, right? They didn't have a choice, but it was just super difficult. So I do have some YouTube resources that I picked out that helped my son tremendously, and I'm going to list those in the description box below. One in particular, she is an actual speech, actually there are multiple of them that are speech pathologists, but one of them, Teachmetotalk or Teach My Child to Talk, I'm going to list it below. I feel like she made me a speech expert. She's amazing. Her videos, her podcast, she is incredible. Songs for Littles, Miss Rachel is one of my son's favorites. She taught him how to sign along with our speech therapist, and that's going to be our next thing that we cover here. But yeah, so lots of YouTube resources I will list below. But again, that should not replace you getting professional services and help. We were just going through this at a time where we were on wait lists because nobody was accepting you because of the virus. So, but they're still really helpful to have because let's face it, narrating your life and doing all of this is exhausting as a parent. We have other children, we have spouses, we have homes to maintain, food, meals to make, to shop for, all the things. So having a resource that you can feel good about for your child, I think is really helpful when you just need a break or you need to get something else done. So, okay, the next point that I said that we were going to cover, giving them an alternative way to communicate. You guys, I was told by so many well-meaning moms, don't teach your child to sign. They're never going to talk. Don't get your child a device. I think it's called an AC device. That's what we tried. They'll never talk. Don't give your child the picture exchange system. They'll never talk. Nay, not true. Nope, myth. Okay, sign language for my son is what helped him to start speaking. Baby signs. Guys, if you can't do anything else, okay, Google baby signs, and Miss Rachel on Songs for Littles, she actually teaches, like super, super basic signs. This is more, water, help. I mean, there are just, I want, there are just so many basic signs that they can learn, milk, we're not using signs anymore because he's talking, so I'm trying to think about him. But you guys, for my son, signs is what got things going. That's what taught him. That's what really was like, hey, we have to have an exchange for you to understand what I need. The meltdowns, you guys, they stopped. He wasn't frustrated anymore trying to when he wanted something. And of course, I was frustrated because I was trying to take care of him and I couldn't understand. And he's having meltdowns and tantrums because he knows what he wants and he knows what he needs, but he had no way to communicate it to me. The device, I think it's called an AC device, did not work for him. The picture exchange for him, it did not work. It depends on the child, but those are two other tools that work for a lot of kids if signs do not. Signs worked for my son because he did not have a receptive delay. He only has an expressive motor planning delay. So signs worked so well for him. And guys, the meltdowns, they stopped. What else does a parent want? Besides their child to be happy and content and to be able to communicate what they need. I mean, that's why you're here, right? Because you're on the internet searching speech delay, speech delay toddler. Does my child have a speech delay? The meltdowns. Are you experiencing that? Are you frustrated? Signs. And that's another thing that a licensed, speech therapist can help you with. But until then, there are free apps. Baby signs, that is all they use. You can start with your child, right, while you're waiting to get evaluated, etc. So, okay, lots of play. I already went over that. We will go through more things in our next video, very specific, activities, verbiage, like the ready, set, go, we're going to talk about something that I have struggled with from day one and I still struggle with, and that is not over anticipating your child's needs. You want to create the opportunity to encourage them to speak, right? What that looked like, just a little quick thing for my son, I would know, well, he's eating, he's probably thirsty, but instead of just getting up and getting him a drink, I would wait for him to communicate in whatever way he could, right? In his case, it was signing, so either milk or water, but I would give him the opportunity to ask for it, not just, here's your drink, bub. So his toys, I would put some, in clear bins up high. So he would have to come and get me, and he would pull on my shirt and I'd say, what do you need? And he'd point, show me what you want, and he'd walk over, he'd point to it. Guys, that's communicating. And if he has a sign for it, I would say, what's the sign? So blocks, why can't I remember the sign for blocks right away? But anyway, so we will go through things like that hopefully you will find helpful. Just know that we started at we went through his second birthday up to 2.5, 0 words. And about age 2.5, he had the 3 words, but depending on the day, he would either have them or he would lose them. And now he turned 3 in March. It is May 14th. And he is putting 5 to 6 words together. So I do feel like I have a lot of value to offer you, but I am not a speech therapist. And I will list YouTube channels, Instagram accounts, any resources that I used and use and love, and there will be more videos to come. But you guys, I just want you to know, if you're here, okay, moms, maybe dads, but probably moms, some, mostly, if you're on YouTube, so you found this channel because you're searching, if you've got that feeling in the pit of your stomach that something is wrong and that it's not going to be okay, I see you. And I'm here to tell you, I went from not sleeping, sobbing in the fetal position, full disclosure, in my shower, just at my gut core level, believing somehow that I failed him, that my body had failed him, and that it was not going to be okay. And even sitting here today with all the things that he struggles with, all of his mast cell stuff and all of it, not even just the speech, not even just the physical parts of it, I still don't know for sure what things are going to turn out like. But I wish I had believed the people around me that told me, Amber, no matter what, it is going to be okay. And it's going to be okay because he has you. And you will never stop fighting for him. You will never stop advocating for him. You will never stop being everything that he needs to reach his fullest potential. So I want you to know that if you're here and you're experiencing any of that, number one, you are not alone. I know that I'm in Kansas. I'm just a face on YouTube, but I'm here. Leave me a comment, send me a message. Instagram, I think you can send messages, whatever you need. You are not alone. That is the whole reason I created this channel, because I wanted a sense of community. Granted, we're going to talk a lot about homeschooling, but this is going to be another part of this channel because we need support. We need to support one another. You're not alone. I see you and you are amazing. And no matter what you're struggling with, no matter what your child is struggling with, if it's just a, traditional speech delay or it's something more like my son, you are everything that your child needs, and no matter what, it's going to be okay. It will be. If I had known what it was going to feel like the first time that my son walked down the hallway and said, Mama, I love you. Guys, I ugly cried like 6 ways to Sunday. I did. I still do. My husband and I still tear up, as he starts to find, his confidence in and we are nowhere near done with our journey. So it's going to be okay. Get evaluated. Do not be afraid of it, okay? And coming up, we will go through things you can do day to day at home with your child to make the most productivity, to gain speech with the time that you already have with them, right? If you're already going to be playing with them, let's implement some of these speech things so that you're doing the most work that you can in the time that you're already committing to your child. So I'm so glad that you're here. I hope you have a wonderful day, a wonderful rest of the weekend, and I will be back soon for more content on speech and homeschooling and motherhood and all the things for you. So come back and see me. Bye.